What's up, sports fans? This is the Lucas Ross Sports Channel, and it is time to give you my 2024 Big 12 football projections heading into the 2024 college football season. We have already done our projected standings for the SEC and the Big 10. We did the Big 10 yesterday, and then we did the SEC a couple days ago on Monday. So if you have not seen those projected standing videos, be sure to go back and check them out for the SEC and the Big 10 from yesterday. Now we're doing the Big 12. We're going to give you our projected standings here for the Big 12 for 2024. Show you what the standings look like based on our projected records for every single Big 12 team. Not my official prediction, of course. These are simply projections based on how tough every single team in the Big 12, how tough their schedule was, and also kind of based off of where these teams were from last year as well. So let's get right into it here with our 2024 projections here for the Big 12 Conference. We will start, of course, with the bottom and work our way to the top. So at the bottom here from 14 to 16, or I should say from 13 to 16, I got three teams here projected to go 4-8. I got Arizona State, Houston, and Colorado all projected to go 4-8, and then 2-7 here in the Big 12 Conference. Like the Big 10 yesterday, I don't really expect anybody to go winless in this conference just because I think the Big 12 is going to be very competitive this year. And also, this is a conference that every team is going to beat up on each other. No matter who they play in the Big 12, it's always going to be a very competitive game. I think this conference is going to be definitely more competitive than any other conference, especially out of all the other Power 4 conferences. I feel like the Big 10 is not going to be wide open, but this Big 12 conference is definitely going to be wide open. So back to what I was saying about Arizona State, Houston, and Colorado. All these teams are projected to go 4-8. It really isn't just about the overall record here. It really is about their schedules. Arizona State does have a pretty tough schedule. They're going to be playing Mississippi State in the non-conference, but they are also a team that I don't really know how good they're going to be, so I don't know what to expect from the Sun Devils this year. This is also their first year in the Big 12, so we don't know how good they're going to be in their first year either. And then Houston comes in here at number 15. They're projected to go 4-8, and then also 2-7 here in the conference. I think Houston might be a little bit better than that projection in about 4-8, but based off of where they were last year, they are definitely projected to probably go 4-8, maybe 5-7 or 6-6. But they do have a tough non-conference game against Oklahoma on the road. That's probably what's keeping them from getting to a bowl game. And also they do have a pretty tough schedule in the Big 12. So Houston here projected to go 4-8 and then 2-7 here in the conference. And then Colorado also comes in projected to go 4-8 and then 2-7 here in the Big 12. I kind of expect Colorado to be be better than that projected record at 4-8. I think Colorado's going to have like a better season compared to last year. They obviously were in the Pac-12. I think they can definitely have a better season here in the Big 12. But you look at their schedule, they do play a couple of tough non-conference games, or I should say maybe three, because they have to play like a really good FCS team against North Dakota State to begin the season. That's not going to be an easy game there for Colorado. And then they have a couple of tough non-conference games on the road. They got to play Nebraska on the road out of the Big 10, and then they play Colorado State. Again, their rivalry from last year, it was a really close game in that one. So again, I do expect Colorado to be be better than that 4-8 projection. But based off of where this team was from last year and based on their schedule, they are projected to go 4-8 and then win a couple games here in the Big 12. And then Baylor comes in here projected to go 5-7 and then 3-6 here in the conference. Baylor trying to turn things around after a really disappointing season, going just 3-9 last year. They do have to play Utah in the non-conference. Yes, remember that Utah game that they're playing on the road, that's a rematch from last year in the non-conference. Again, that's a non-conference game instead of a Big 12 matchup. So they will play them on the road. That's obviously going to be their tough non-conference game. And then, of course, in the Big 12, they do have a pretty tough schedule as well. So according to their projection and also according to their schedule, they are projected to miss out on a bowl game just by one game. They are projected to go 5-7 and then 3-6 here in the conference. So these are my standings here from 13 to 16. Let's now go from 7 to 12. We got BYU and Cincinnati both projected to go 5-7 and then 3-6 here in the conference. Kind of hard to tell how good BYU is going to be. They're coming off a 5-7 season. I mean, based off their schedule, it's pretty tough, so that's why they're projected to go 5-7. I feel like they'll be underdogs in some games in the Big 12, but I feel like they're going to be definitely 50-50 games a lot here for these Big 12 teams this year. Like I mentioned, this conference is going to be so competitive, and it's just going to be a conference that can go either way. But you look at Cincinnati, they're projected to go 5-7, even though they have a really easy schedule. They're going to be playing Pittsburgh out of the non-conference, but their schedule is not that horrible. They do play Kansas State, but they don't have to play Oklahoma State and then also Utah in the Big 12. I think they also don't have to play Kansas either, so that's the good news there. But they have to play Kansas State and Iowa State both on the road. Those will be tricky road games there for Cincinnati, but either way, they do have a really easy schedule, I should say, but according to their projection, based off of where they were last year, this team is projected to go 5-7 and then 3-6 here in the conference. And then TCU also comes in projected to go 5-7, but 4-5 here in the Big 12. That means they can probably win more Big 12 teams or more Big 12 matchups as a 5-7 team. But coming up just short of a bowl game, according to their projection, TCU has a couple of tough non-conference games on the non-conference schedule against SMU and also Stanford. They play those two teams on the road to start out the first 3 weeks of the season, so those are going to be very tough games there for TCU. And again, they're both on the road, so TCU is projected to probably lose one of those games in the non-conference, but they are projected to go 5-7 and then 4-5 here in the Big 12. And then UCF comes in here at number 9. They are projected to go to a bowl game at 6-6 and then 5-4 here in the conference. UCF has a pretty tough game in the non-conference on the road at Florida, but I think they'll have a chance to compete in that game. But their Big 12 schedule is pretty tough as well. They do have to play Kansas, of course, on that schedule, but we'll see how it goes. I think it will be enough, though, for UCF to make it to a bowl game based on their schedule. And then you got Texas Tech and Iowa State, both projected to go 7-5 and then 5-4 here in the conference. Both of these teams will play each other in the regular season head-to-head. The reason why Iowa State is ahead of the Red Raiders is just because of that home field advantage, and that's the reason why I did put Iowa State ahead of Texas Tech here in these projections. So you look at Texas Tech, they're coming off a little bit of an up and down season last year. They could be a little bit really good this year, but it's kind of hard to tell how good they're going to be especially. But they do play a non-conference game on the road at Washington State. That will be a little bit of a tough one there for this Texas Tech team, but they are projected to go 7-5 and then also projected to win 5 games in the Big 12. I kind of expect them to kind of be where, be there around 6-6, maybe 7-5 or maybe 8-4. Because this is a very consistent Texas Tech team. And then Iowa State, I kind of expected them to be somewhere around 6-6, 7-5, or 8-4 as well. Their schedule is not that horrible. They do have a tough non-conference game on the road at Iowa this year. I'm pretty sure that's a home game, or maybe it's a road game. I can't really remember, but I think it's probably a home game there for Iowa State. So yeah, I think it is a home game for Iowa State. They will play them in the non-conference. Iowa State, their schedule in the Big 12 is not that horrible, but according to their projection, they are projected to go 7-5 and then 5-4 here in the conference. So these are my Big 12 standings here from 7 through 12. Let's now go to the top 6 here for the Big 12 standings. We got Arizona here at number 6. They're projected also to go 7-5 and then 5-4 here in the conference. This is not going to be the same Arizona team that we saw last year in the Pac-12 where they won 10 games, but overall they should still be a very talented team, but they're going to have a first-year head coach, so we obviously don't know how good they're going to be. But according to their schedule, they are projected to go 7-5. They do play a non-conference game against Kansas State. Again, that's going to be a non-conference game instead of a Big 12 game like Utah and Baylor. It was scheduled from the year before, so Arizona will play them on the road in the non-conference. And then we got Kansas here at number 5. They're projected to go 9-3 and then 5-4 here in the conference. The Jayhawks have a pretty favorable schedule this year. They got to play Illinois in the non-conference on the road, but I think they do have a chance to probably win that game, to be honest, but it could be likely one of their losses. And their Big 12 schedule is not that horrible. I believe they don't have to play Utah on the schedule, and they also don't have to play Oklahoma State, so that's the good news there for the Jayhawks. And then West Virginia comes in here at number 4. They're projected to go 8-4 and then 5-4 here in the conference. So you're probably wondering, why is the Mountaineers ahead of the Jayhawks? Well, West Virginia does play Kansas at home this year. That's the reason why West Virginia ended up being ahead of the Jayhawks here in this projection as of right now. But West Virginia is projected to go 8-4. Same kind of, record from last year in the regular season. But I think West Virginia has a chance to be a top 25 team this year, but they do have a pretty tough non-conference schedule. They're going to be playing Penn State out of the Big Ten. The good news is they get that game at home this year, and then, of course, they play Pittsburgh on the road out of the ACC, which I think they'll have a chance to win that game as well. But the Mountaineers are projected to go 8-4 based on their schedule, and then also 5-4 in the conference. And then we got Kansas State and Utah, both projected to go 10-2. Both of these teams are tied here. I kind of had to go who had the tougher schedule here between these two teams, and it was Kansas State. Kansas State definitely has a more tougher schedule than Utah does. Kansas State, though, projected to go 10-2 and then 7-2 here in the conference. I think the Wildcats have a pretty good chance to be a really good team this year. That's why their projection is at 10-2, and also because of their schedule. Their schedule is not that horrible, so again, the Wildcats, I think, should be a pretty good team this year in the Big 12. And then you got Utah. Cam Rising, of course, will be back at quarterback. That's the really good news there for the Utes. This will also be their first year in the Big 12. Again, they're playing Baylor in the non-conference. Again, that game is scheduled as a non-conference game instead of a Big 12 matchup. But again, Utah does play that game at home, so I don't really see them struggling in that game. But they are projected to go 10-2 and then 7-2 in the conference based off of where this team was from last year. But, you know, it's because they're pretty much, it's pretty much because Cam Rising is coming back at quarterback. That's the reason why I'm kind of high on Utah a little bit this year. But if he stays healthy, if Utah can keep him healthy enough, Utah has a chance to be a pretty good team and also probably the favorites to win the Big 12 this year. But I got Oklahoma State here at the top, projected to be the favorites to win the Big 12 as of right now. They are projected to go 10-2. They have a non-conference game against Arkansas at home this year. That likely could be one of their second losses there, but maybe one loss comes in the Big 12. They are projected to go 8-1. I don't really expect anybody to go undefeated in this conference just because of how competitive and how these teams are going to beat up on each other here and how competitive this conference is going to be. But you look at Oklahoma State, they do return their quarterback from last year, and they also do return Ollie Gordon III, one of the top running backs coming up this year in the Big 12, and potentially a Heisman candidate as well. And I feel like the Cowboys are definitely the favorites to win the Big 12 as of right now. Their schedule is not that horrible, but they do have a tough game against Utah. The good thing is they get that game at home at least in the Big 12. So again, Oklahoma State as of right now is projected to be the favorite to win the Big 12. Again, they are projected to go 10-2 and then 8-1 here in the conference. But these are my 2024 Big 12 football projected standings for the 2024 season. Let me guys know what you think about these standings down in the comments below. Do you agree or disagree? Thanks for watching this video, and stay tuned here for more sports content videos on my Lucas Ross Sports Channel.